What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be taking care of another issue that isn't just JL or JT related, but also JK related, and that is the steering dampener location, which is very low hanging fruit when you are off-road with a modern Wrangler. Now, depending on your type of off-road, this might or might not be an issue. If you, again, are just kind of on normal fire roads and backcountry trails, this is probably definitely not an issue for you, and you can probably never have to worry about this. But all of our local off-road trails and places are pretty darn rocky. There's a lot of rocks on the trails. There's a lot of kind of rock garden areas, which leads to your steering dampener, which again hangs at the very bottom of all of your steering linkage in harm's way. Now, this Jeep just recently got the cool Mopar Performance Bilstein steering dampener, and that got put on right before our last off-road trip. And I was kind of thinking in the back of my head, man, I wish I had this relocation bracket before we went on this trip, but hopefully I won't hit it. But as we look underneath, you'll see we already tagged the brand new steering dampener when we were off-road for just one time. So this kit from Clayton Offroad is hopefully going to be the ticket to move that steering dampener up and out of the way, behind and again above all of the steering linkage, so it literally can't get hit again, damaged, and go from there. So let me show you what we've got, and then we'll get this thing in the garage and hopefully get this kit on. So coming to the front of the Jeep, what can we already see as we look underneath? As a rock moves through underneath, we're gonna tag the steering dampener immediately. And as you guys can see, we've already just barely touched this thing. We've got some scratches. Luckily, it wasn't hard enough hit to dent the thing, but again, we've just got some paint scratches on it as we obviously came off a rock, hit our control arm bracket slider there, and it moved on back. But that's unfortunate on a brand new part, and that's what we're going to hopefully be taking care of today. All right, guys, so in the garage here, let's look at the kit here, and then we will get the old stuff off and this new bolted on. So now this kit is two parts. We've got one part that goes around the tie rod that one end of the steering dampener goes to, and then the other part actually goes through the factory track bar location. So the track bar here will go right up here like this, and that will be our new mount. So we'll go from the dampener being way down here to being all the way up here, and basically mounting right around here, and then mounting the other end to the other end, or about midway on our tie rod. All right, so first thing, we're gonna use an 18 to get our factory dampener out of the way. Now, one thing I wanted to do was measure from eye to eye of our steering dampener, so I'm going to then know where to mount our new bracket here on the tie rod, because I'll just measure from eye to eye and make the new one the same length. So with that out of the way, we can measure that. And mine, with the steering as straight as it currently is, I'm right at 17 inches from eye to eye. So I kind of know where to set that new kit up at. Okay, so with the steering dampener out of the way, we should be good to get our track bar bolt out of the axle here. Okay, now with our new bracket and new provided bolt, we're gonna be able to get all of this back together. It even comes with a flag nut that's going to go up in the axle housing, so that can get secured with the new hardware. Now I'm gonna leave the bracket not all the way tight, just so the angle is correct once I get the steering dampener and everything mounted. So with that there loose, we're gonna get the other end set up. Now this bracket is just as simple as the U-bolts, obviously going from the bottom and going back up through the bracket, and then you've just got the nuts here on the top. So with the tie rod side bracket now on, loosely we can get our length here measured up, and then we can go ahead and tighten this thing down. Okay, so now that we've got the eye to eye length back to what it was stock, we should be good to tighten this side down. Now that we've got our tie rod bracket where it needs to be, this again we've left loose to get our steering dampener installed so it can be at the correct angle to line up perfectly over here. And last but not least is a single hole that they want you to drill through the track bar bracket here, so this can kind of locate our bracket on the axle. It does come with provided hardware, obviously, for that bolt hole location. So we are going to try to get our steering dampener installed here. All right, so with the steering dampener installed, I'm gonna tighten up the nut here on the tie rod side and then tighten up the nut and bolt here on the bracket side. And that should hopefully locate this bracket in the correct angle to be able to, you know, get our hole drilled and done. All right, so we've got our track bar bolt tight, we've got this bolt tight, we've got all of this hardware tight. I did add a few washers under here to get my steering dampener as flat and level as I thought I wanted it. But for the most part, we are done other than our single hole that we need to drill. And then we can pull off all of the factory brackets here on the axle and on this tie rod. I think I'm gonna have to turn the steering all the way one way or the other to get these bolts out, I believe. Now guys, one really important thing here as I cycled the steering all the way to the right to get our bracket off over there is making sure you've got clearance, because I've already run into an issue. As you guys can see, our steering dampener bolt going through the top down, we are coming into contact with that tie rod end. So the fix for this is going to be pretty simple, just flipping this bolt around so it points up instead of down should take care of that. But again, have somebody turn the steering wheel left and right, check clearance, make sure you can cycle that steering dampener all the way in and out to make sure you aren't going to be rubbing or hitting on anything underneath the vehicle. So guys, I just got that bolt flipped around as you saw, and for all I know, the instructions would have told me to put that bolt in from the bottom up, not the top down, but I didn't really read the instructions. So with that corrected now, we've got clearance. Again, I went full lock left to right while checking for track bar, drag link, tie rod end. We're just making sure that nothing can hit anything as we're going through the steering cycle. The only thing that I need to do now is just drill that single bolt hole and put that small bolt in the end of the track bar bolt bracket, which, like we already talked about, is right here. That goes through into that factory bracket. But here's what we are left with compared to what we started with, where our steering dampener hung down really low right here and was literally right in the way of getting hit with rocks when we were off-road. Now that thing is absolutely tucked up high, out of the way where it cannot get hit. You know, obviously we're going to now be hitting tie rod end, drag link end, which again, we were already hitting. We've got rock marks on all of that as we went through a rock garden and, you know, kept on rolling. So that is what we're left with. One of the cool things about the Clayton bracket, as we can see, that track bar bolt is still accessible with the dampener installed. Some of them, the dampener kind of cover up the track bar bolt. Now we shouldn't ever really be needing to mess with the track bar bolt again, but I've seen a lot of JLs or JTs for that matter that have come into the shop with weird loose steering and have found the track bar bolts looser than I would like them. So kind of cool that you're able to check torque periodically without needing to take the thing apart. You can just get a socket up there, your impact or a torque wrench, and actually torque the thing. So guys, thanks for coming out into the garage with me again today and taking care of another loose end on your Wrangler, whether that be JK, JL, JT. This is the same issue on all three of them. So again, if you are often out in the rocks, this could be something you might want to think about. And I'll be a little bit happier dragging this thing through the rocks, knowing I'm not gonna be soup can opening my steering dampener on the next sharp rock. So guys, I've got some cleanup here with tools, and I guess I've got one more hole to drill and throw a bolt in, but I think that's gonna do it for today. And guys, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.